Hey, everybody. Welcome back to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt. And tonight is Friday, of course. And thank you all for showing up already. Thanks for being in here. Dan and Julie L., I watched about 90% of your live before I hopped on here. Good job, guys. Your flight was the best. I giggled all the way through it. It was so funny. But, so tonight is a shift. There's no more Matt Madness. The madness has turned to sadness because it is over. And that's just the way it works. But the sadness turns into happiness because tonight we're drinking Wild Turkey. We are drinking Wild Turkey, not just us, but with what some would consider to be the master keeper of Wild Turkey information and bottles of Wild Turkey. He's the man that Jimmy and Eddie Russell will call, hypothetically, probably do, if they have a question about Wild Turkey, because this man is a super fan. He's a turkey freak. His name is David Jennings, Rarebird 101. Hey, man, how the heck are you?
What's up, Matt? Thanks for having me on, man.
It's been a long time coming, friggin' David Jennings.
Amen.
I got a book. He sent me his book. Can't wait to peruse it and look at the pictures because I can barely read. But the pictures are beautiful anyway. Congratulations. I know that was a while ago that came out, but still, congrats. Yeah. It's a friggin' book. That's so
thank
cool.
you. It's not that old. It's about a year old.
Right.
And I can't take credit for the photos. That's all Mr. Victor Sizemore, who did a hell of a job.
Well, they're in your book, so take credit for it. Just saying. Does he have pictures with your words on them? No, because nobody would want that. Oh, so cool. And you're working on a second project now, right?
That's right. Yeah, I've got another book in the works. Thanks to some generous folks that donated to my Kickstarter. I've got a book called Wild Turkey Musings. It's pretty much done. The draft's done. I've just got to get the photos completed. I've been kind of waiting for Turkey to open back up and all that. But it's really just like a celebration of 5 years of my blog. So I've gone back through, found some of my favorite posts and kind of edited them and reworked them and kind of freshened them up, and then added my personal notes, as to maybe what I was thinking at the time or doing at the time or why I wrote what I wrote. And sure. It's going to be out hopefully summer of next year. Is fingers crossed. That's the goal.
That's awesome. And do you have like a publisher and everything already lined up, ready to rock?
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to use
cool.
Mascot again, probably. We're interested. I sent them the first, 20 pages or so, and they said we're good to go. So working on it right now.
Sweet. So if anybody in chat wants to pick up a copy of American Spirit from friggin' Rippy to Russell, where can they pick up a copy of this right now? Okay,
you can go to wildturkeybook.com. And there's various links there for ebooks and paper copies, whatever. Or you can go to Amazon and pick it up, ebook or regular book, print book.
Wildturkeybook.com. Could you make that any harder? That's
I was surprised.
Ever remember that?
Yeah, when I searched for it a couple of years ago, I was like, yes, it's available.
That's so cool.
Well, I mean, I thought, somebody like a wild turkey hunter or someone surely would have grabbed this by now, but nope, wildturkeybook.com is mine.
Nice. It's weird. Like, a book is a strange thing because it takes for people like me who sit behind a camera and it's like it's all digital. It's like a lost art almost, I feel like. And it's so cool. It's like, you know what? I have a friend who's an author, so suck on that. And that's it, by the way.
Yeah, it is kind of a lost art, and reading is not something that near as many people do as once was in the past, but because everything's on a screen now, so people that like to read, a lot of folks have translated to kind of moved on to doing that with different forms of media, which is what my blog's for. So you can always go to my blog. But yeah, there is an art to putting a book together, and it's very, very difficult and time consuming and frustrating. And then at the same time, it's also, when it's finished, just a wonderful accomplishment, and it just makes you feel good that you finally accomplished the goal. So
you can hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a real thing.
It was.
I've never
it was
made a video that I can be like, hold this video. It feels so. It's like it has a smell of the book. It's just so. Oh,
it was
so
neat.
cool.
Whenever I had to, mail out a bunch of copies, like 300 copies for the first Kickstarter, and they were shipping it to me, freight, and it was really just surreal the day that the Mack truck like pulled up, in front of my house, and like the dude gets out with lowers the pallet full of books, and we have to hand truck them up the driveway. Into my garage trip by trip, and my neighbors are all looking like, what the hell is that? Because like they didn't know, I had written a book, and I'm sure they're thinking, what is he doing?
You looked like you looked like the guy off of the Heist documentary.
Yeah, they probably were kind of thinking,
wild turkey product into your garage, but it was books, not barrels.
But when I opened that box for the first time, that smell just hits you. And like you just all these crisp, freshly printed books, and you just open the first one and fan it, and it's just it's surreal, man.
Oh, speaking of fan it, you have a lot of fans, a lot of followers, a lot of friggin' subscribe. Like you have a blog that's like your main
that's
center
right.
of what you do, right?
Right, that's correct.
That's rarebird101.com, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
It's funny because every time I search for any wild turkey information, it's like first search result is your website.
About time, like forever, like it would just be like third page, and like they say if you're not in like the first page, you're just basically dead. So it's kind of cool to see it hit every once in a while. I don't rank as high as some of the others like Breaking Bourbon and Goodfellas like that, but I get a first page every once in a while. That's pretty cool.
Let's get into these pours here while we talk. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is getting hard. 5, 6 samples that was hand delivered by Rarebird 101 himself, or a friend of his.
I walked to Colorado. It was awesome.
Oh man! And these puppies were hot to the touch when I got them in the house. Unboxed them. I was like, "Good grief, these babies are hot." So you have 2 new riff picks. Is that what we're going to start with?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, I'm all about turkey, but there are some other distilleries that I do enjoy a pour from, and even to the point of doing barrel selections. And New Riff is one of those distilleries that I just really wanted to pick a barrel with, because I'm a big fan of what they're doing, especially at the age. And so thankful for Justin's House of Bourbon, and Ryan Alvis for helping me get all this put together. New Riff sent me the sample selections, and I was in love with one immediately, but there was another I was on the fence about because they're so different in profile. And I thought, well, the one I was in love with I called it smoky because it had a real heavy barbecue, like Rickhouse fire kind of taste to it.
Okay.
And I thought, well, some people aren't going to like this, so I wanted something maybe sweeter. And I talked to Ryan and New Riff about it, and they agreed to let me have both of them. So we've got smoky. Ryan is the best.
What a guy! Shout out to Ryan Alves over at.
Shout out to Ryan and Justin's great crew. So I've got smoky, which is as the name implies, a very smoky oak profile. And then I've got candy, which is very confectionery. It has a lot of old-fashioned candy notes, and I even get bubble gum on occasion, but not the typical bubble gum, like the powdery bubble gum, like the cheap, like open a baseball card pack back when it had the bubble gum, and the powder would get all in. You smell the cardboard and the bubble gum together. So I thought we could go for those. All right, let's do it.
All right, which one are we hopping into first? Smoky or
let's start with smoky. So this is smoky. Right. That's the sticker there.
So these are both bourbons.
Both bourbons. That's correct. In both 4 years. And the proof are pretty close. This is 108.3 for smoky.
I gotta say, you sending me New Riff, and you're like, listen, I gotta show that I don't drink only turkey. Honestly, David, that's like me ordering Diet Coke and being like, listen, It's not all bad. It's 95% turkey, isn't it?
Okay. So I probably have 75% turkey at my house, and the other 25% is other bourbons, rye, and the occasional scotch or brandy. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Edward. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy that.
Oh yeah, how could he not? Steve says Mansky wants to know if these picks are still available.
No, they just sold out. They went through my Patreon supporters, and we had a few left. I put them up on Twitter and Instagram, and the rest went really quickly. And then just a few days ago, the bottles that we had set aside for breakages, there weren't many. I threw those back up on Twitter, and they were done. So apologies, they are gone. But I am picking more barrels. I got 4 turkey barrels coming. I'm doing a Wilderness Trail pick next month. I'm doing a Starlight pick and or maybe more than one Starlight pick. You never know, in October. And I've got 4 more turkey barrels to pick as well. So got a lot coming up. A lot coming up.
With the turkey, you have a foot in the door. Can you? I know that the allocations are hard to get for a lot of people, but do you have like a special little Rare Bird 101, like little nudge, little shoulder, elbow? Like
I get allocations kind of a little bit differently. Yes. Now the first 4 turkeys that I picked this year that were just bottled last month and should be available next month. Those were through Keg and Bottle. And I have to thank Bourbon Pursuit and Shim Coward for reaching out to me and saying, hey, we've got an opportunity here. And I'm thankful that they did that, because I was able to. I thought I might just pick 1 or 2, but I tasted 5, and 4 of them were just like winners. Just no problem. I've got a McBrayer B, a Camp Nelson A, and then 2 Tyrone F barrels that should be here next month. And that'd be through Keg and Bottle for my Patreon supporters.
I love the way that it's like tech lingo, but it's turkey lingo. You're like Tyrone FGRL.
So Tyrone is on site. So those are the rick houses right there at the distillery. McBrayer is right across the street from Four Roses. There were some rick houses that were once owned by Seagram's. Prior to that, they were Old Joe, and they were sold to Turkey in '76. And they've had them since. And then there's Camp Nelson, which is in Jessamine County by Camp Nelson National Cemetery. And those were once owned by Canada Dry Bourbon. For those unfamiliar, Canada Dry, the ginger ale, actually did own a bourbon company. It was a Stitzel-Weller product.
Huh.
So anyway, a little history there.
Oh, do you have kids?
I do. I have 2 kids.
Oh my gosh. Do you tell wild turkey stories for bedtime? I would.
They do get a little sick of hearing about the turkey stuff sometimes, but they're very supportive and they're good kids.
Tonight we're changing it up. Have you ever heard of ginger ale? And they're like, oh yeah, we've had that before. Once upon a time.
I give them my tasting notes. Yeah. This apple juice is.
Okay. So this smoky pick, I have a Peerless pick that is, what's it called? I can't remember what the heck it's called, but it has a barbecue note as well. But it's more of like it's like, this is like a sticky sweet.
It's a sweet barbecue
type of barbecue. The Peerless one I have is more of the more vinegar based barbecues, like the different style. So it's kind of what I was expecting coming into here, but this is like,
very sweet.
If you mix that bubble gum you're talking about with a bit of smoky, sweet barbecue.
Yeah, this was my favorite. Smoky was my personal favorite, but I think we should probably go ahead and pour the other one so you can contrast. But you'll see what I'm talking about, because the profiles, when you compare them side by side, are fairly different. So this is the second pick, which is Candy, Riff Bird Candy. Again, it has the confectionery notes, and it's a proof of 105.3. So 3 points difference from Smoky. And I'm just blown away by what New Riff can do in 4 years. It's incredible. And then to be able to have these picks at full barrel strength, non-chill filtered, I mean, I wish turkey would do that, and we'll talk more about that later when we get into the donut. But anyway, so this is candy.
I got to give the candy a minute to turn into what it's going to turn into here.
It needs to air out a little bit.
Anything right now.
Yeah.
But man, this smoky one is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was the second I nosed it, it immediately stood out. And it was
what the heck, dude?
One of the more darker new riffs I've had.
That doesn't taste like a new riff at all to me.
It's pretty dark, isn't it? It's got some character to it. And you know, I had a lot of folks that took a gamble on this one. They're like, you know, I'm not really a new riff fan, or, you know, I've never really tried them. I don't know if I want to get this one. And I was like, trust me, I think you'll like it. And sure enough, I had people coming back going, I'm so glad I took the chance on this one. Mm-hmm. This was more than I expected. And no credit to me, really, honestly, because I was sent 3 samples by New Riff, and 2 of those 3 were home runs, in my opinion. So that's all New Riff. That's not me. It's not some magic. It's just I got, you know, 2 barrels that, you know, I'm lucky to be able to have.
Right. So people trust your judgment as far as what you think is good, what you want to drink. But it is a weird thing because these single barrels, especially since the pandemic, they've been done differently with a lot of the samples being sent out. And then when you're sent 3, it's almost like you can't take credit for it at all. It's like you got 3 and you chose the best of the 3.
That's correct.
Whereas like I've heard, you know, like legends of the best pickers, like the people who've got the best palates, who get the best barrels. And it's like those people who are at the distillery tasting through several barrels, like they're the ones who it's like chase their barrels, right? It's hard to take credit when you're sent 3 and you choose one of them.
And honestly, I you know, it's hard to take credit for any private selection, really, because you didn't make it. I mean, you didn't make it, you know, and someone goes through and tastes all these barrels and they decide which ones need to be batched and which ones need to be set aside. And if you have good tasters or good master distillers or good master tasters, I mean, chances are you're going to find a good barrel. I mean, you shouldn't struggle, you know. The only other exception I might say is something where it's very limited, like in profile. So like Knob Creek, now that they're all 9 years, it's going to be kind of harder to find a profile that really sticks out among the batch. And
I have a Knob Creek pick coming out that I had done last month or 2 months ago. But I got lucky in one of the picks that one of the samples I was sent was totally different. It was like pure cinnamon. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Like these aren't all the same 9-year profile or 9. So good. That was good. But yeah, you just never know. But hey, if you get a good sample, there you go. Like this smoky one, dude. To be totally honest, light years ahead of the sweet. Like it's not. I don't think it's even close. I think the smoky one is.
The candy one is lighter and has a lot more confectionery notes, like I mentioned. A lot of vanilla, caramel, your typical kind of toffee bourbon notes. And some people prefer that. Some people don't want the dark, you know, heavy oak smoke kind of stuff. So this kind of is more appealing if you want the more what I would call core bourbon profile. It's just a lighter, sweeter profile.
That's so weird how the same mash bills, sometimes even the same location in rick houses, barrels right next to each other even can provide such a different profile when it's
at 4 years. I mean, you know, I don't think you would taste this much variety at 4 years with Jim Beam or Wild Turkey. I don't think you would. I don't know what New Riff is doing. I assume they have a low barrel entry proof. Do you know? I'm not up on their specs like Turkey, but I would imagine
somebody in the chat will be able to tell us. But okay. I did a pick there with the Bourbon Junkies a couple months back, and I can't remember what she said about the entry proof.
It's got to be pretty low. I mean, it just there's so much flavor here. It can't be 125. I would bet that it's probably 105 or something like that.
Right, because their barrels don't yield like high proof bourbons anyway. They were talking like
someone said I think it's 125, but that's crazy that the bottling proof would be 105 and 108 with a 125 barrel entry proof after 4 years. But I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, wrong.
They probably know more than I do. So thanks, Tim.
Tim, you better be right. Otherwise, you're gonna be putting time out.
Well, I'm not a new riff expert, so I'm just the flavor here reminds me of a low barrel entry proof. So
see, Tim gets away with it because he says I think. So totally fine.
Okay. Mark says it's 110.
Ben H says I believe. So also room for error. He says 110, I believe.
Yep.
Then Tim's dead. That's bad.
It just has a good, Makers is what, 111, something like that. So they get a lot of flavor.
All the Michter's is lower too, and it's just all these. Turkey doesn't. They don't put their stuff in the barrel.
That's 115 now. It's 115, which Independent Stave recently, or not so recently, I forget when they actually had the publication, but at some point stated that 115 was the ideal barrel entry proof. I don't know if that's exactly why Turkey chose to do what they did, but they're at 115 now.
Right. I mean, you get a lot of flavor, the younger ages too. So it's something that, I don't know, they're doing it right.
They're doing it right. Whatever they're doing, it's damn good. That's for sure.
And then places like Heaven Hill are just dumping everything in at 125, and then even their weeded stuff, which turns out to be kind of funky and not exactly the greatest weeded bourbon on the planet.
Yeah, I don't think weeded bourbons handle high entry proofs very well. Hence the reason why Buffalo Trace has a lower barrel entry proof for their weeded recipe. I think it's 114, for their weeded. Yep. So that makes sense, So, but yeah, so smoky and candy, very different. Appeals to two different crowds. I like them both, but smoky's my favorite out of the two.
Oh, me too. The candy one is also good, but tasting it after the smoky one, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, you want to go back because that darker profile just it's hard to not love it.
I've been nosing at this for a while. There's something in there that I can't quite pick out. It's like,
you get like a maple syrup and a pancake.
Yeah, but it's a maple candy. Have you ever had a maple candy?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like Mary Jane's, something like that.
Yes. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Matter of fact, Mary Jane's may be one of the tasting notes for this. I can't remember. Not on the bottle. By the way, the notes on the bottle are not mine. That's New Riff's.
New Riff.
Right. But I had my own set of notes I threw out on Patreon, and it's this. I love smoky. It's my favorite too.
It's like the Halloween candy, the orange and black Halloween candy.
Yep, that's it.
Oh man, me and you were.
There you go.
Just so
same wavelength.
What?
Same wavelength.
Oh yeah, they said same weight. I was like, where are you holding that, buddy?
If I keep doing this, who knows where things will go, man.
I got just one more of this.
All right, go for it, man. We got something exciting next, so get ready.
Okay. All right, that's about as ready as I get. In any circumstance, I do that before any important decision, before any important maneuver.
Exercise, stretching is important.
Yep. When the children are like, "I went number 2," I'm like, just gotta come prepared. You just never know what you're gonna walk in on. So
been there, done that. Next? All right. So what we're gonna do next is we were talking about how New Riff allows their selections to be full barrel proof, non-chill filtered, which Turkey does not do. You get the choice of a Kentucky Spirit at 101 proof, or which is chill filtered, or Russell's Reserve single barrel, which is 110 and non-chill filtered. And that's it, really. That's your options. And both of those options are fine. They each have their strengths and weaknesses. To me, 101 proof can shine with the right barrel, but more often than not, the 110 is the one that most people are going to gravitate towards. But that's their limit. So Turkey has not released a single barrel product at barrel proof since 1998. And that was the Kentucky Legend, which is known as the donut. Now you will notice I have a oddity about mine. If you look at the top,
it's got
somewhere somewhere up in heaven, Elmer T. Lee is like, what the hell is he doing? But my
I think
cork
that's
broke
an N. Is that
and
an
it
N?
worked. Oh, let's see here. It's an S.
Damn it.
Yeah, it's an S for
Which
so
stands
awesome.
Just,
Sacrilege.
It's good it fits, though. It's good that it fits.
But this is and this is in the book, by the way. So if you want to, learn a little bit more about it, it's in the book. So matter of fact, let's see if I can find it quickly without folks at home having to wait for a very long time. Okay, boom, 150, page 150. So Kentucky Legend, there was another Kentucky Legend before this that was 101 proof in the early 90s. This Kentucky Legend was a travel retail product. It is single barrel proof. It doesn't really say if it's chill filtered or not. It just says that it's filtered. So, I don't know how to take that. It could be chill filtered. It may not be. Who knows? But the only other time you're going to get single barrel Wild Turkey barrel proof is with single cast nation, selections, and those are by lottery now. So, you just have to kind of get lucky. But this is from Rickhouse F, which that could be Tyrone F or it could be Camp Nelson F. We don't know. And the proof on this one is 114.9. So this is pure dusty turkey.
So what year was this, you said? This
was released in 98 or thereabouts.
Okay.
There's no date on it, but my research when I did the book, that was the closest I could come with a date. Now, so this is pure dusty turkey. And interestingly, it's not age stated, but I was talking to Bruce about it at one point in time on the interwebs, and he remarked to me that he had talked to Jimmy about Kentucky Legend and asked, how old are these? Mm-hmm. And I always kind of thought they were 8 years because, that's the turkey, and that's Jimmy's, favorite age. But he told Bruce that a lot of these are 15 years. They were babied and moved to low floors. So this could be 15-year bourbon.
I get my master's keep from last year. Mm-hmm. Evaporated the entire bottle, and I don't even know how to explain it.
They put holes in those things, man.
I swear. I love that bottle so much. But ISO. But this was when I put my nose in this, it totally different, but there was like the age, like that I felt like I got from that. So I thought when you said 8 years old, I was like, there's no way.
Yeah. It's a crazy profile. And what's interesting is it's not the funk bomb that some of the dusty turkeys are. Like, you get into like the Cheesy Gold Foal or some of the 8 years from the 1980s, and they tend to have a little bit more funk than this one. I don't know if it's because of the proof or because those are batch products and they have, maybe a range of ages giving it that funk. It has turkey funk. It just doesn't have that overwhelming, like, musty wood kind of funk.
It smells ridiculous.
It doesn't it? It's got that rich, like holiday citrus, that just brown sugar, heavy brown sugar.
This is one of them you could just pour yourself and smell all night and then pour it back. Like you could drink something else and then just pick this up to smell it. And the color is ridiculous. It looks like it's like Mobile One synthetic that you checked after you drove home from the oil change place.
There you go.
Through a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's darker, but that is some dark stuff.
Yeah, and I hope you're saving some because you're gonna might want to hit this later. But
oh, good grief!
Yeah, and the finish is killer on this thing. I mean, just loads of flavor. The sad thing about these donuts, like at the time I purchased these, I had a friend of mine who had some extras, and the going price was around $400, $450. I don't know what they are now. People in the chat can tell you because I'm not on the secondary, but I would guess that they're probably well over $1,000, I would think, which is ridiculous, but they're not easy to find.
So recently, I watched a lot of Dave Portnoy's pizza reviews on YouTube. it came up on my thing one day, and I loved his scoring system. And I've never scored whiskeys before, like gave them grades. It just always said, I like it. You should buy it if you could. But lately I'm like, I'm going to start actually grading stuff, like give them a 1 through 10. And then I can go back to see like what fell where. If I taste them blind, did it differ than when I tasted it in a review? All these sort of things, right?
That's always fun to do.
So after we're done tonight, I'm scoring all these as we go so that it will make the official list.
Wow, cool.
Of my whiskeys this donut did not disappoint.
No,
what the heck?
I've never had one. And honestly, this is one of the middle of the road donuts. I hate to tell you that, but like I've had some that were like
single barrel.
The 118, 119 proof donuts are like ridiculous. I've had some that aren't as good as this one, and I've had some that are better than this one. This is kind of like a middle. They're all great, but this is like a middle of the road donut. So if you can believe that they get better than this, that just gives you an idea of how these things can land.
Dude, is that the last of what you have for a donut? Is what's in your bottle there?
Yeah, I don't have any in a bunker or anything. This is it. So I've got maybe a fifth of this, 20% or so of this left, and it's going to have to start going fast now because when it gets low, usually about the time to start killing it off.
That's what we like to tell ourselves. We're like, listen, we're at half a bottle. We might as well finish her off tonight.
That's right. But I will keep this as a decanter because the bottle is just so unique. I mean, what they were trying to do is compete with, again, this is a travel retail, release. So they're trying to compete with all those Johnny Walker, like travel release things like the Jazz and all this, where they have the fancy wide bottle with all the squiggly stuff and everything. Like, so, this has to back in 98, this had to compete with that stuff in the airport, like on a fancy shelf. So that's where that comes from.
See, if this is a great, fantastic bourbon, so they called it the donut. If it weren't good, they would have called that the whoopee cushion for sure.
That's awesome.
I mean, kind of,
And I will not sit on this bottle, figuratively or literally.
And by the way, I didn't even say thank you for coming on, but thank you for coming on here tonight. This is so cool.
I've been wanting to do this,
dude. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is ridiculous, and this is the reason why there's so many people out there who are in love with Dusty Turkey.
Yeah, it's like the hype is warranted. I do think the pricing is with bourbon in general is just way overblown. New riff here for $50. It is a steal compared to like what other prices are out there. Yes, this donut is better than these new riffs, but it's not $1,000 better. Not a chance in hell, So
what was the retail on this when it was released? Do you know?
The retail? I don't know. I'm guessing with it being a travel retail release, it probably had a little bit of a premium for being like a fan.
The guy knows nothing. I ask him one simple question. Nothing. Swear to God. Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna guess probably $50 and 98. Just a stab at it.
Whiskey Mountains Adriana says, "Did I miss something? Does he have a Blanton's cork in it, or did Blanton's copy this?" Wild
it's
Turkey
a
cork.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dusty Turkey corks are like they're bad.
They're horrible.
And you know what? They didn't really get better.
No.
I remember my first rare breed I bought, I popped the cork out of it and I was like, this thing is on its last leg.
So the thing with the new corks are the as a stopper, it's not any better. The cork is better. The cork itself is better. But usually what happens is you'll pull it and like the glue separates and like you end up with like wood in your hand. And you're like, what the hell? Like I've had that happen on Russell's. I've had that happen on Rare Breed. I've had that happen on Kentucky Spirit. It's like a glue thing now. So bad stoppers now as opposed to bad corks.
So Blanton's uses horse glue and Russell's uses just a friend down the street who makes adhesive in his garage.
Elmer's.
Right?
They got kids in there. I'm just kidding.
That's funny. Tennessee Jed. What does Rare Bird 101 think of the Saffel 375s. I really enjoy batch 1. Haven't seen batch 2 yet.
Well, okay, so there is only one batch label-wise. Now, they've made multiple batches, and if you look at the laser code, you'll see that they're different laser codes. Love Saffel. You can go to my blog, rarebird101.com, do a search for Saffel, and you'll find a detailed review. Saffel was one of my favorite whiskeys that they've bottled in the last 5 years or so. It's amazing. It's a blend of 6, 8, 10, and 12-year-old bourbon. Eddie knocked it out the park. I wish they sold it in 750s or liters or handles even. But yeah, go to my blog, check it out. I also have a hack on my blog on how to make your own Saffel, and it's fooled many a person. It's called Hackle. So,
a hack. I thought you said a hat. And I was like,
hack. Yeah.
I was like, that's like information on a hat. That's cool.
Yeah. So go to my blog and just type in Hackle instead of Saffel, and you'll find a recipe to make a knockoff of Saffel that comes pretty damn close.
You just have all that information packed in there. I love it. I love it. I always joke about I always forget things that are important or that I should remember or that could be useful. Or when I was in college or high school, trying to remember something that was necessary to remember, impossible. But if I put in Nelly Country Grammar CD, I'm like, oh, number 5. How do I know that? That space is just taken up with that. You've got a turkey the front, the whole.
Because Matt, here's how that information is stored. That information is stored here. That's stored in the heart, man.
Oh,
was that not a McConaugheyism? I mean,
I don't know. I think that was better. I think that you won out. That was you can't say something that awesome and then give him no. He's got his own thing.
In all seriousness, isn't that kind of the case though? When you really love something, it's like that information is kind of half stored in your heart. It's like I could tell you a lot about the Beatles or whatever, and that's just because I love it. And a lot of folks are like that about other things, not just music, sports, and all various hobbies.
Jeff Huck says, "Just saw your Nulu pick on secondary. I think you're joking. If you're not joking, then pass the information along because that was Patreon only, and that's not cool.
That's not good." Yep.
So yeah, I'm sure that's a joke, but if not, let me know.
Yeah, the sad thing is, I don't think anyone can avoid that now. It's the sad thing. I'm like you. I don't like it at all, and my patrons know that that's not what's supposed to happen. But it gets hard to avoid sometimes.
Have you ever met Mathew McConaughey?
I have not. I have not met.
What?
Yeah.
In the world? Okay. How about no? This is BS. Okay.
He probably doesn't even know who I am.
Well, of course not.
But he's in my book. So
Not,
I know who he is. I know who he
right,
is.
But you're Rarebird 101. They should
man.
have set this up a long time ago, where it's where he thinks he's meeting, I don't know, some smoking hot actress for dinner that was set up with, and then you come in and he's like, and you're like, I fooled you, but that's the only way we can get you here.
He probably read my Long Branch review and was like, asshole.
Yeah. He probably didn't read it. That's okay.
He probably didn't read it.
And if he did, I don't know if he'd care.
Yeah.
He's like, that's how I like it. So there.
Best bourbon in the world, according to Mathew McConaughey.
Was it maple charcoal filtered or something? Or something weird?
I mean, it's mesquite and white oak charcoal. What's the word? It's not filtered. It's
mellowed,
infused, or something like that.
No, infused isn't the right word. They would never use that word. It's got to be like.
It's not filtered. They teabag the whiskey. They put all for lack of a better phrase, they put the chips in a bag and they teabag the whiskey. That's what I've been told.
Is that even allowed? I don't think it's allowed.
I think it's allowed for McConaughey to teabag whiskey.
Oh, can you imagine all the things he's teabagged?
probably change the subject.
Sorry.
He knows who I am now.
You can't. You can't. I'm sorry. You can't put me out there and then just leave me with that. My apologies. But I mean, it ain't a lie. Well, there goes my relationship with Rare 101. No. Do you want to keep going through these or what?
Yeah. I mean, let's. Okay, so tradition would be the next one to go to, while we still have our wits about us. Now, tradition was the second to last limited edition before Master's Keep, unless you want to count Forgiven, which is technically a limited edition, but I don't really view that in the sense that I do the limited edition bourbon. So you had Diamond followed tradition, and then Master's Keep after that. So this came before Diamond. So this is the predecessor to Diamond. It's a 14-year 101 proof bourbon, and it comes in what I like to call Darth Vader's helmet, and I'll show that to you. It's heavy. It's heavy. So it came in this box. It's got this copper base and solid wood. I mean, this isn't a Booker's box or a Russell's box. This is like real deal. Like Pernod went all out with this one. Or I guess this is technically Campari. It was at that transition year, so it was probably designed by Pernod. But anyway, so it has these buttons on the side here that you press, and you have to press them together to release the helmet. And I'll show you what's inside after I do this hopefully without dropping it. Okay, so inside it is the bottle rests in this copper base. Now, this is not the original cork that broke, of course, and but this is the Diamond bottle, but it has this. The bottom is this copper or copper colored metal, but it's solid metal. I mean, like if you hit somebody with this, they would die. But so this is tradition. It's a 14-year bourbon at 101 proof. And I think you'll love it.
Yeah, I just nosed it.
It's super dark, super rich. And
it's weird because a lot of these whiskeys, I don't even like to look for notes or like try to dissect it's just pure enjoyment. Like this is ridiculous. Like what the heck?
Yeah. So whereas the donut had a lot more like lively, kind of vibrant, mature notes, this has a lot of like stewed fruit, a lot of like heavy wet oak, molasses, tobacco. This is a dark pour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like a concentrate, a thick concentrate. And it's
101 proof. It's not the 114 that donut is, and when you taste it, you're not going to taste a notch down in flavor. I mean, it's right there. It may not have as long a finish as donut, but it's got all the flavor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. This is, it's funny. The more and more you taste all of these whiskeys, like these new releases, and then it's like, it kind of bourbon loses its specialness. Is that a word? It kind of loses it a little bit. It's like, oh, just another whiskey. Here we go. But then this is like a reset button. This is so different, so unique, and amazing. This is really, really good stuff. And so my dad is coming in a couple weeks to come visit. Oh. He's a bourbon drinker. I'm gonna save the little bit in here for him.
Oh, he'll love it.
This is such good.
And what's crazy?
Changed.
These things just sat around for the longest time. There was a point in time where these traditions were just everywhere collecting dust, believe it or not. But not anymore. It's one I'm going to miss. I'm down to the last I'd say about like the donut. I've got maybe 20% left, and I don't think I'll be getting another because the prices are just too high now.
Yeah, but I can't imagine what these things are going for. Mathew McConaughey's in chat. He sends me $5 and says, "Teabagging is what gives Long Branch them sweet nut notes."
Oh,
Somebody
what do we
changed-
start, Matt? What do
They
we
changed
start?
their name to Mathew McConaughey and changed their profile picture to probably the sexiest Mathew McConaughey.
Or
Had to
it
read
could
it.
really
That's-
be him. Not.
I would love it if his profile picture was that. Like if that was, that'd be good. It's my favorite. Thank you, Greg, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, these are super, super special. There's an underlying note of like a medicinal cherry that some people get, but to me that mixed with the heavy oak presence is like just a really beautiful mixture. I've never used the words beautiful mixture together ever either.
You know, and who knows? It's age stated at 14 years, but it's not bottled in bond, so it could be anything above that as well. I mean, this minimum whiskey is 14 years. And you're right. There is a medicinal cherry note in here like you get with Master's Keep bottled in bond, for example.
But it's lovely. It's like some people don't like it,
darker.
But that's my jam.
Yeah, it's like you know those cherries that come in the can that people put on like cheesecake. So it's like that.
I like the New York style cheesecake. I think I don't know.
Where you just open a can of cherries and it's like all syrupy and like gloopy.
Yep.
Heavy like that.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
If those cherries were Schlammer drunk.
Yeah, like
liqueur on your face.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's just Will Henderson, MVP's in the house. What's up, guys? Cheers from awesome turkey night. Hopefully everybody in chat is sipping on some turkey too. Thanks, Will Henderson. Friggin' love you. My mom says cherry pie filling. It's called pie filling? Maybe. Yeah.
Whatever. That was some booze in it, and that's a very strong note here. And the oak, you know, for the age, it's very restrained on the tannins, and it's super sweet. And a lot of that's probably from the lower barrel entry proof, and it's possibly the fact that some of these barrels will probably move to a lower floor at some point in time, like Turkey does with a lot of their limited editions.
Man, so whoa. I don't even like to talk after I drink it. I just want to enjoy the heck out of it.
Very, very good stuff. Definitely better than Diamond.
Yeah, I've only had samples of Diamond. I kicked myself because when I was living in Connecticut, there was a shop that had one up on the shelf, and I was like, have you ever like been in a store and you're like, one day I'll buy that.
Yep.
And
many
then
times.
One day you walk in and it's gone, and you're like, oh, son of a.
I did that with Booker's Rye. So talk about pain. Leaving behind Booker's Rye at retail, like $250? No. You know, and then like it's like, what were you thinking, you idiot? You know.
Right. It's weird because you never know what that next bottle will be.
That's right. That's right.
Just strange. Especially nowadays. Tennessee Jed. Curious if Rare Bird 101 has had Discovery 2. In theory, it's 44% 10-year turkey. In theory, there's turkey in all 5 releases, but I think 2 is an underrated release. Number 2 is great. I think it's their highest proof, if not their second highest proof Discovery series, and it is phenomenal.
Go to Tweet, as in Twitter, tweetdrams.com. That is my non-turkey review website. And search for Bardstown Bourbon Company or Discovery. And I believe number 2 is reviewed, I believe. As for it being turkey, you know, who knows? I mean, there's all these NDAs and rumors flying all around. I mean, Beam and Turkey share a mash bill, you know, percentage wise. And, you know, it's really hard to say. Plus, okay, you know, just for example, you know, Seagram's, when it dissolved, was basically split between Diageo and Pernod. Pernod owned Turkey at the time, and they acquired not just barrels but contracts that Seagram's had with other distilleries. Okay, so a lot of times, just because a barrel or a tote has a DSP, okay, of a distillery, that doesn't necessarily mean that that distillery made it. Okay, so without getting myself into any kind of trouble or anything, I'll just say that be wary when a NDP or a rep for an NDP or a person on Instagram says that something was distilled at Turkey. It's always possible, okay?
Mhm.
But it's not very likely most of the time, because Turkey is not typically a distillery that sources their whiskey out. That's not something that Jimmy has ever liked doing, and that's not something that Eddie's a fan of either. I mean, it could happen, and it's very possible, but don't give it 100% credit, because was it distilled by Jimmy and Eddie? Maybe, maybe not.
Good answer. That was the most political answer I've ever heard in my life, and I love it. I've actually heard you answer that question other times.
Yeah.
And you got that down and you freaking nailed it.
Well, I mean, and this goes for any NDP, okay? Don't make assumptions. If it says bottled, a lot of people assume that Bullet is Four Roses, and that may not necessarily be the case. And I've actually got some folks telling me that's not always the case with Bullet. So
there was a Matt Madness kind of hang up one night because I said, guess what you are drinking. And some Cam from Drums and Drams said he was drinking a barrel strength Four Roses single barrel, and it was a barrel strength Bullet single barrel. And it was, if he got the question right, he would have won. But if he got the question wrong, he would have lost. And I was like, oh my, on one hand, he could have 100% guessed exactly what he was drinking.
Right.
But on the other hand, he might not. So it was just like,
yeah. You just don't know. So, and nothing. There are good NDPs, and there are really lousy NDPs when it comes to transparency and storytelling and this type of stuff. So, just be careful. If it says bottled by, you'll get maybe a state. You should get a state. Distilled in Indiana, distilled in Kentucky, whatever. Don't make assumptions, and don't listen to marketing reps or store managers or distribution people. They usually hear rumors and pick things up, or even just kind of throw things out there themselves that they've kind of surmised. So there's no guarantees.
Drew Fürstenberger says, that was terrible. My bad. Not to play your relationship with Bardstown. Oh, not, but is Disco 5 worth 150? It's one of those that you need to try before you buy, for sure, because it's much different than the rest of the releases. Is it as good as 1 through 4? I think it's a step down. It's certainly lower proof, and it's a totally different flavor profile, but some people are going to love it for sure. I'm going to buy a second bottle. They sent me a bottle. I'm going to buy a backup just to have it. So it's something that I like. It's gotten a little bit better since I opened it, but I think I graded it a 7.9. The others in the series would be in the 8s for sure. So,
I did a tasting when COVID was in its prime, and I did this, participated in a program, and you may have done it too, where you do a Zoom with Bardstown, and they send you a sample pack, and it's got the Discovery, the Fusion, the New Make, and the 2-year in it. And what impressed me most out of all of those samples, and it had the was it Copper Kings or Copper and Kings or something like that? It had one of the it was the sherry finished, I think.
Okay,
Oloroso or something.
Yeah, Prisoner or
no, it was some type of finish.
Pfeiffer Pavitt.
No, it wasn't that. I think it was a C&K. I had to go downstairs.
Oh, you know what? No, Copper and Kings does have a sherry. They have a sherry and they have an apple brandy.
Okay. Yeah, it was the sherry one. I just thought it was too heavy on the sherry. But the one that impressed me the most out of the whole tasting was the 2-year, maturate their own. And I was like, damn, if this isn't some good 2-year whiskey. Like, I was really impressed. I'm like, Bardstown is making a very clean, like, even the White Dog was very clean. It wasn't like, I've had White Dog before. I've been like, whew, God, it's like, moonshine. But this was very refined and clean. And then when you tasted it at 2 years, I was like, I would almost buy this barrel proof as is. It's that good. Like, so, watch out. The stuff that Bardstown is making ain't lying. And I'm not a sponsor or a brand ambassador. I was genuinely impressed with it.
Yeah. Some of the new maker White Dog you get is, very harsh. And
very corn heavy.
Right. Bardstown and Peerless. I tried both of their White Dogs, and I love both of them. They're actually really buttery, which is what I'm like. Oh, this is. They give you an oily, viscous mouthfeel. Of course, there's no barrel influence, so it's just straight grain, but it's actually
clean.
Right, exactly. I guess that's the best word.
And you could use it for a cocktail, and like people would not like blink. I mean, they would just like, wow, what is this? Like, what vodka is this or something? You could really make a killer cocktail with it. I ain't joking.
Oh, for sure. But then, so for the World's Top Whiskey Taster, they had us blend some stuff together, like for one of the competitions, and I got to leave with some of the stuff that I was blending with, and one of them was it was just under 4 years old, their weeded bourbon, and I still have it. It's really good.
I believe it.
So, yeah, when they start putting out their own distillate, and they're doing it the right way, they're blending it with other stuff, because you really don't want to put out something to the consumer that isn't great,
right? Because
it's going to turn people off.
And they're basically doing the High West model, honestly. I mean, you look at what High West was doing in the early 2010s, and that's what they're doing. I mean, they had a lot of sourced whiskey. Then they started kind of making their own, and then slowly introducing it, into their blends. And that's what Bardstown's doing. One thing I did like about High West is they actually did release their White Dogs in a way. They had, and it wasn't very good, but like they had like the Silver Oat whiskey and the Silver Rye whiskey. So it was like it hit the barrel for like a second, so they could call it whiskey.
Sure.
And you got to taste their new make basically, but it really wasn't that good, and it didn't really work in a cocktail either. But I think the Bardstown would.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. But yeah, so it's cool to see what's coming out of there. But
yeah,
they might be the next new riff as far as like younger products too. But they're doing a lot of distilling for other places. So there are a lot of places that are putting their trust in it.
Yep.
And I don't know, it could be one of those things where down the road you could be like, oh, this is Bardstown. Like that's sourced, that's non-disclosed and stuff like that. Who knows?
I like that they're doing their own thing. They've got a sleek look. They're not trying to mimic or make some, frou-frou label where it's like, some, old timey story from long ago. And, it's kind of like they're just coming out and basically saying, we're doing our own thing.
Exactly. There's no old Charter story there.
No.
Jonathan Mason says, any idea when we will get more details on Master's Keep 1?
Yeah, very soon. The release is slated for September, but with most turkey releases, because distributors, the second they start getting product, they just want to get it out the door as soon as they can. Typically, you start seeing wild turkey releases hit some state somewhere a month early. I mean, that's just happened with Rare Breed Rye, happened with the 2003, happened with the Bottled and Bond. So it would not surprise me at all if you see one popping up next month. Don't be surprised.
Is one the toasted barrel finish? Is that what they're doing there?
Okay, it's a toasted oak. So is it staves? Is it barrels? We don't know. Is it 100%? Because, think of something like, Knob Creek Quarter Oak. It was mostly Knob Creek, and a little bit of it was Quarter Oak. Sure. The same thing could be true here. It could be like some of it's toasted, and then it's blended with straight, and then, they call it that. I mean, we just don't know. Now, what we do know, and I've got... it's on my blog. I don't have it in my head immediately. I'm going to take some guesses here, but I want to say it's like part of it is like 8 to 10 year, and then another part of it is like 12 to 14 year, maybe something like that. I'd have to go, ooh, America.
Thank you.
And it's, who knows what it's going to be. Now, to a lot of the folks that say, well, toasted oak, that's just a bandwagon gimmicky kind of thing. Everybody's done that. Michter's has done it, Elijah Craig, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yes, but I mean, that's what makers private selects are. I mean, it's toasted oak stave finished whiskey, and nobody, poops on that. I mean, they're a little bit expensive, but I love a maker's private barrel finish, and especially the LEs, like the last was the one SE4 PR5, whatever. Loved it. You didn't like it?
No.
Oh man, I loved it. Now the FAE, and it was fine, but I mean, just that SE4 PR5 was great.
Oh, okay. You know what? I didn't try that license plate. I tried the newest one, the FAE.
I call them droids. They're droids.
They're just taking numbers off of cars in the parking lot. But just I don't know. I get a real sour note on some of those things.
They're not for you. Yeah, I gotcha. I mean, right. I like them, but I don't know if they're necessarily better than Maker's 101. That might be the best thing that Maker's has. I know you're just not a Maker's fan. That's right. I've watched some of your reviews, and I don't think you've had a single Maker's that you've liked, right?
The only one that I gave a positive review for, I mean, as far as this that I liked in general, was 101. I thought that was the best one.
Although they're heavily marketing that 101, and I swear to God, there's another whiskey brand that uses that, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's got me stumped. But anyway,
how do you feel about Fighting Cock? Just curious.
Okay, so I used to could find the 6-year Fighting Cock.
I ask hard-hitting questions.
Okay, I could find the 6-year Fighting Cock a lot for like several years. I mean, it was just like everywhere. I don't know. I don't know how many 6-year Fighting Cocks. I mean, it was just like, this is starting to sound weird. Okay, so anyway, I had the non-age stated, and I had the 6-year Fighting Cock, and I compared them, and the 6-year was better, but it wasn't like mind blowing. Like people are like, oh, the 6-year Fighting Cock is amazing. Blah. I was like, not really. I mean, like 101 just like basically destroys it. It's fine. It's not bad. It's tailgate whiskey. Fighting Cock is tailgate whiskey.
I like it. That's what I wanted to hear.
There you go.
That's just, you're like, just get out of here with that. Jeffrey Wax says, my aunt bought me a whiskey from Trey, Ohio. I was not excited for what I thought would be a 2-year craft. Ended up being contract distilled product from Bardstown, like a custom fusion. So good. Huh. I didn't even know they were doing that.
Yeah.
But, that's cool. It's a 2-year. So, I mean, for you to give positive feedback on that says something. For sure.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see what one tastes like, because I have no clue. I mean, I trust Eddie. All the Master's Keeps are his babies. So, I haven't been disappointed with any of them. Some of them I like better than others, but I've loved every one of them. So I wasn't the biggest fan of the export one, the 1894, the Australian one. I don't really that's kind of like I think that was done specially for Australia because their taxes are so high on alcohol. So to have a limited edition at a high proof would have been very costly. So I kind of consider that kind of like a niche thing.
Sure.
But, been very pleased.
Well, really don't care about that one.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll forget we did that. So I opened up, you American for me, thank you. I opened up a Kentucky Spirit that was sent to me by Uncle Buck if you're in the house. I just opened this Kentucky Spirit you sent me because I want to compare it to this Kentucky Spirit that Rare Bird 101 Mr. David Jennings sent me.
Yeah, this is a special Kentucky Spirit in the sense that it tastes special. The selection itself, I mean, there's no sticker. There's no fancy bourbon group or some names that you're going to know from Instagram. This literally set in a store in rural Georgia at Holmes Liquors for years. This is a 2016 Kentucky Spirit. And it sat there for 4 years Nobody buying it. And then somebody said, "Hey, you need to buy these." And I'm like, yeah. I've tried, Warehouse Tea, Kentucky Spirits, and they're okay. They're like, "No, man, you really need to do it." And I'm like, "Nah, I appreciate the offer." Somebody sent me a sample. I'm like, "Dude, you need to taste this." A different person. And I tasted it. I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And oh, it's a Kentucky Spirit from Holmes Liquor. And I'm like, somebody else sent me the a picture of this and said I need to get it. So I ended up getting as many as I could, and then giving them to friends. So I have one left after this one's done. But this does not nose like modern turkey at all.
This is molasses, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
The stewed fruits and just thick.
Yeah. So when you compare it to modern Kentucky Spirit, well, this is modern Kentucky Spirit too, but it's like, what the hell? This isn't even like the same bourbon. It has a dusty. It has a dusty turkey. It reminds me of some of the 8-year turkey from like the 90s, even the 2000s.
It's like, what happened to get that back?
Exactly, and it's a mystery because I can't really find that many teas from this particular year, and none that taste like this. The ones I have found and tasted taste nothing like this. My mind goes through, what made this one so special. And the only thing I can think of, and I could be way off here, but I think about 2016, what came out 2016. And I'm like, well, that was the time when you had, that was about a year after Russell's 98. It was a year after, almost 2 years after Diamond. So you have to kind of wonder, like, was this some rejecto barrel that like was going to be batched with one of these special products? And they're like, what are we going to do with it? We'll just throw it into a Kentucky Spirit or something. Or maybe this was pulled for the program, a year or so prior, and then just never got picked. It just like sat there and like no one ever tasted the sample. And so it just got older or something. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's a unique, it's the most unique modern Kentucky Spirit I have.
That's completely.
But doesn't it taste like dusty turkey? It has a
100%. If you would have said that's dusty turkey, I would have said that's incredible.
Yeah, it almost has like it's like a dusty turkey vibe and a little bit of a dusty National Distillers vibe there with that butterscotch. It's got butterscotch in it, which usually attributed to National Distillers, and I get that in this one.
Do they have a way to trace back barrels to like
yeah, I've asked. I'm like, please, just I'll do anything. Please just tell me what the deal is, because it's so unique.
It's so funny because I can like Jimmy and Eddie probably like, you want to do what? Like they sort of like they have a piece of like going through some papers. They're like, no, you're just gonna have to not ask about that.
Yeah, it just I haven't been able to get an answer, but I can tell you that Rickhouse Tea was new at the time, and they were filling it with barrels from other locations. So, it did not age in tea; it aged somewhere else, and maybe it was just somewhere where it was just a few barrels that like just had this perfect, set of circumstances to make it what it was.
It's so weird. Uncle Buck wants to know if the one he sent was from Warehouse O. Nope. This was bottled in December of 2017 from Warehouse K.
Yeah, K's the wild card Rickhouse is what I call the wild card Rickhouse.
Why do you call it that?
Because the profiles can just vary from, you have certain Rickhouses where certain floors just typically give you a similar profile. K can be all over the place. So, I mean, it can be like fruity, like red fruits, strawberries and stuff like that. And it can be like heavy, dark spices. It can be funky. It can be dry. It's like K is all over the place. Okay, wow. Warehouse F. Okay, so there's two Fs. Brian, there's Tyrone F, which is on site in Lawrenceburg. And then there's Camp Nelson F, which is, about an hour or so away. So it just depends on the year. If you have a bottle, it depends on what year that bottle is before I can tell you which F that you're looking at.
So I just tasted this 2017 one from Uncle Buck. Reminds me a lot of a Turkey 101.
Yeah.
Yeah. absolutely polar opposites. So different. Like,
Yeah. I mean, this Kentucky Spirit, I have to give a shout out to Brad for really confirming to me that this was special, because I had passed it up from other folks, and he was just like, dude, you've got to taste this. And if he had not done that, I would have just let this thing go. But
right.
he was
You
so
would never
damn
know.
right. This is one of the few Kentucky Spirits that I would say not just is better than a Russell's Pick. This one blows away the grand majority of Russell Picks I've tasted. It's that good.
So then Will Henderson's talking about the age of rare breed. The past year's old, the new one's not so much.
Actually, that's not necessarily correct. Bruce had a Zoom with my Patreon group, and he said you would be surprised to know how much 12-year actually goes into rare breed. A lot of 12-year goes into rare breed, and that hasn't changed. What has changed is, barrel entry proof has changed. There's a new distillery in play now, which wouldn't so much play with the older whiskey and rare breed, but it would definitely affect the younger whiskey and rare breed, like the 6-year whiskey. So there's things that have changed over time that are going to make that profile different. It's not the age necessarily, and I'll phrase it to you the way that Bo Garrett, who is a brand builder, tour guide at Wild Turkey, he's mentioned this several times before. Like Jimmy will tell you, when it comes to rare breed, it's typically the younger whiskey is the top floor. The 8-year whiskey, which is the kind of middle whiskey, is in the middle floor, and the 12-year whiskey is the bottom floor. And if you know anything about how a rickhouse ages, you know that 6-year whiskey on the top is going to get oak a lot faster. The middle is going to be like that kind of choice area, and then the lower floors are going to age slower. So it may be 12-year barrels, but they're not going to have near as much oak influence as the 6 on the top. So it's not necessarily an age thing. It's just Wild Turkey has changed over the years. Now, I will say that I find the new rare breed, the 116.8, to be a notable step above the 112.8. And I think it's a notable step above the last couple years of the 03RB, which people would disagree with me. But, I mean, the early 03RB batches from 2004 to 2007 or so are killer. Even 2009 or so are killer. You start getting into the 10, 11, 12, 13, 2013 03RB batches, and they just kind of have an astringent quality that I'm not a big fan of.
1318 Shelby says, can David talk Wild Turkey into going back to the fan bottles?
I've tried. I mean, I had a whole blog post called, Rest in Peace Kentucky Spirit, because it killed me.
Bottle.
It killed me to see that iconic glass. I hope that one day, okay, and my next blog post is about how good modern Kentucky Spirit is, because the whiskey itself has really, I think, in the last 2 years taken a notch up. Mm-hmm. But I hope that fantail glass returns one day, at least as an LE. I think it would be a great tribute. I thought it would have been a great tribute to Jimmy for his 65th anniversary.
Right.
But anyway, I think it'll make a good LE bottle one day.
Going back to that Kentucky Spirit. Mm-hmm. So when I start to try to lose weight, there are certain go-to foods that I go to, depending on what type of diet I'm doing. But at one point, I would take unsweetened Greek yogurt, and then I would put stevia or some sort of artificial sweetener in it, stevia or truvia in it. Then I put vanilla extract with dates. And the nose I get on this, it just brings me back to that dish, because the vanilla extract mixed with the dates is exactly what this smells like.
Interesting.
It's because you get the vanilla extract has some astringency to it. And then you mix it with that super dark fruit, and it just kind of comes together in a weird, it's almost a tang. It's like a tangy dark fruit.
Mm-hmm.
I freaking love it. That's so good. What the heck? I'm a fan. Jeez Louise, that's good.
Yeah, and there were a lot of questions about Rare Breed. I see in the chat of people making comments. I'll mention that travel retail right now, if you happen to be traveling outside the country, there is an NCF Rare Breed out there in a liter bottle.
Oh, a non-chill filtered.
Yeah, so if you're traveling outside the country, go into a travel retail liquor store and try to find it. It's an NCF Rare Breed liter bottle. I've never tasted it. I want to taste it. I want to own it, but I'm sure one day I'll find one. But if you're traveling, be sure to grab it.
Oh, here's a question that I've always wondered.
Okay.
So Rare Breed has changed its proofs, a few times over the years.
Yeah.
But then, so it always bothers me that they have a barrel proof bourbon that continues to be the same proof continuously, 116.8, 116.8. So they're batching these over and over and over again.
Sure.
So they must have to add some water to get it to the same exact proof.
Yep. You're correct. Okay, so this started with batch 03RB, which ran from 2004 to 2013. It was a 108.2 proof, and that never changed. Okay. And then they went to 112.8. I'm sorry, 112.8. That lasted for like a year or two, and then they went to this 116.8, which is where we're at now. There's an ATF ruling. I think it's 79.9. I'm going from memory. That basically says that you can label a whiskey barrel proof, okay, as long as no more than 2 proof points were altered. Okay, so the proof on the bottle has to match the proof of the whiskey. I mean, the TTB is very clear on that. Okay, but let's say that you batched a batch of Rare Breed, and it was 117.8. So you're 1 point over the 116.8. You can add enough water to get it down to 116.8 and call it barrel proof legally. So legally, technically, it's barrel proof. Is it in reality? No, but it meets the legal qualifications for a barrel proof whiskey.
I get all that, but the way I think about it is, let's say you're batching together a bunch of barrels, and it comes out to like 119.4 proof or something. So then you have to batch in barrels that are even lower proof
to bring it down.
But let's say that the batch of 119.4 proof was ridiculous, so good.
Yeah.
But you've put yourself into a corner where you have to make it 116.8.
Yep.
Which not only makes it
you don't have to, but here's the thing, you don't have to. Proof is a placeholder with the TTB.
Right.
So this is a decision that Campari is making, I guess, because the labels are pre-printed and it saves them money.
But okay, here's my other argument. 116.8. Let's say the next release was 117.4. People would go crazy about that. It's a new Rare Breed. It's a new batch.
Amen. Rare Breed used to be a different batch every year. 91, 92, 93, 94. They all had different batches. And there's a chart on my website. It'll also be in my book, my next book, that I have on my website. It's on one of the Rare Breed reviews. I don't remember which one. You'll have to dig through them. But I actually printed a chart where it shows you each batch of Rare Breed and 1855 Reserve, which 1855 Reserve is the export version of Rare Breed. It's no longer in existence, but I've got them all charted out, all from 91 all the way to modern times. And it gives you the batch number and the proof. Because they used to not be, at some point in time around, when 112.8 came out, the batch and the proof became the same thing. But prior to that, the batch number was not anything to do with the proof. It was more to do with the year.
I feel like it's a missed opportunity to flap your wings, let you fly. Maybe the general consumer won't care if it's a new batch. But there could be an Elijah Craig barrel proof stag. It's when there's something new, even if it's a 1 proof point off, people go crazy about it and they have to have it.
Right. Okay. Well, here's just so I don't want people to get the impression that Wild Turkey is just saying, well, we're going to hit 116.8 no matter what. Too bad, so sad. That's what the label says. I mean, there are people, Eddie included, that taste these batches, and they're looking for consistency. So people are happy with how 116.8 tasted in 2018. Well, they want 2019, 2020, 2021 to taste the same way because people are happy with Rare Breed. Rare Breed is not having any trouble selling right now. So
for sure.
they are using their taste buds. They're not just saying, well, we're going to hit 116.8 and bottle it and we're done. It's like, okay, let's taste it. And okay, maybe that didn't line up right. Let's add some more of this or that or whatever. So, you know, I don't want to make it sound like they're just trying to hit numbers and that's it.
It's just like the bourbon fan in me is like,
yep, I agree with you.
So instead of looking at laser codes, like, because people got caught up in the laser codes where it's like, if it's G, then buy it, and it's like,
yeah, that some of that stuff was rumors. Honestly, I've blind tasted the GC, the GG, all this kind of stuff. Everybody's like, and like I had like bottles from like a year or two later blow it away. In my opinion, like, you know, it's not that much difference. But I was like, okay. I'm like you. I would rather have a different batch every year, like Booker's. Booker's has 4 a year, whatever, 3 or 4. It would be nice to have variety. You know, I don't have to have consistency. That's why I like Russell's Reserve Single Barrel so much, because it's like I like having, you know, a different profile every time. You know, you drink the same thing every time. I understand that there's the non-enthusiast out there is a fan of consistency. But the diehard enthusiasts, to me, are the ones that are looking for the next big, holy shit, what is this? You know, like we're looking for the next one to brag about. But if you make it so consistent, I mean, there are certain products you want to be consistent. 101 should be consistent. Long Branch should be consistent. But like Rare Breed, I would love for it to take a roller coaster, you know, like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or something.
To play devil's advocate, I think that in the mind of a enthusiast, let's say you just went to the store and bought Rare Breed, the non-enthusiast isn't going to notice the slight differences.
No.
Anyway, so like,
no,
like,
you're right.
They're not going to pour it over ice or like just and be like, this does not taste like the Rare Breed.
They're not unless they buy it all the time. So like, you know, if you have somebody that's like, let's say they're a fan of Evan Williams Black and they buy it every week and all of a sudden it tastes different, they're going to be like, what's going on with this? You know? So
I mean, how can they make it? I mean, what is it going to taste better?
Well, you know, I'm surprised. This may surprise you. I actually like Evan Williams Black. I like it.
He's gone. That was a good, entertaining time with David Jennings. Freaking love that guy. But sometimes things have to end, even before he finished the flight. So, technical issues. So sorry.
Yeah, well, okay. I'll just say this, that Evan Williams Black has older whiskey in it. Like, you know, when they take the barrels that aren't quite making the cut for Elijah Craig 18 and this type of stuff, it just goes in Evans Black. And so you get a woodier profile in Evans Black than you would like the Bottled and Bond, which I think is great for cocktails or whatever, but it tastes like 4 or 5 year whiskey. At least with Evan Williams Black, you get more oak. So that's all I was saying. But the average non-enthusiast that buys the same thing every week over and over again, they might notice a difference. Is Rare Breed that type of a pourer? I don't think so. If somebody is a non-enthusiast and they're buying Rare Breed and drinking that as their regular, well, more power to them.
Right. Oh, man. But yeah, Rare Breed it's funny because if I think about my favorite, my favorite bourbons that I just drink, like if I were just to drink something on a random night, I don't even have the bottles here because I can't keep them here.
Yeah.
It's like they disappear. Rare Breed is one of them, and Knob Creek Single Barrel, just off the shelf for 120 proof.
Yeah. Those
are two that I go to all the time, and I don't even have a bottle of right now because they're gone. I got to get another one.
You know, there are just some bourbons that are never bad. And Rare Breed is one of them. Knob Creek Single Barrel is one of them. I mean, yeah, some are better than others. Knob Creek Single Barrels, especially when you get into the private selections. But they're never bad. And you know, that's a good whiskey. When you can drink something and it's always good, there you go. That's a solid whiskey. As long as it's not like, you know, 3 figures every time.
Right, for sure. So we've gone through your 2 new riffs. We went through the donut, which is ridiculous. the tradition, which was ridiculous, and a single barrel Kentucky spirit that was ridiculous.
Yep.
You sent me a sample bottle that just says mystery on it.
Yep. It's total mystery.
And I don't know if it's turkey or I'm guessing it's turkey, but it might not. It just says mystery. With
I'm not
2
saying a
question
thing.
marks.
Yeah, it's. I'll tell you this: it's a mystery.
Can I pour it?
Pour it. Go for it. I've already poured it out of sight here because I don't want you to know what it is. You did hear a cork though, so I can tell you, whatever it is corked. It's not a screw cap. Ooh.
It's going in the professional whiskey tasting glass.
Wow, this is high class now.
That was my nickname back in middle school, David.
Well, I will go ahead and show you that I have done the same.
Mm-hmm.
Pinky out, brother. Pinky out.
That's a stemmy son of a bitch too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, before I end the stream tonight, I promised DC that after I indulged in some great wild turkey, that I would please him by sampling Ardbeg Scorch that he sent.
Oh, I love Ardbeg. I would have brought some upstairs with me to taste along with you. I have some grooves and some 10, but I like Ardbeg.
I'm just not.
This is not Ardbeg. I will spoil that. This is not Ardbeg.
We got to get it at Dizzy because the Dizzy whiskey is a good whiskey. There it goes. This smells older than the ones that you've given me so far. Maybe
I will tell you that it is significantly older.
There is a dusty funk to it, but in the best of ways. Not a bad. It is. Oh man,
this is a favorite of mine, by the way.
The heck is this?
Is it not complex as hell?
I immediately got some sort of citrus, like an orange citrus, something. But I didn't want to say it because as I was about to say it, it went away and changed to something else. Yeah, this is just, I don't even want to taste it. I just want to smell it for the rest of my life.
So thumbs up on the nose, huh?
Yeah, it's probably some sort of
Oh, it's not Tabasco Dickel, I promise.
It's not, no, I can tell her.
That video, by the way, I had like tears rolling down my face. I had to pause it to catch my breath. It was just amazing.
So I kept nosing it because I was trying to get past the layer of Tabasco. I was trying to challenge myself. I'm like, is there something beyond what I'm smelling, beyond this vomit smell? And I think the third time I smelled it, I had a gag reflex where I was like,
it's a legit gag.
It was. And I was like, I'm not going to joke about it. My eyes were filled with water and I was like, and I didn't even want to upload it. I felt bad. When I went to publish it, I was like, should I even do it? Because I did make some comment. Of course I don't want the person.
It warranted it. It was, I understand that experimentation is a very cool part of our hobby, but bad experiments need to be called bad experiments. They don't need to be like, well, this could work in a Bloody Mary. What kind of Bloody Mary do you want to drink? Just put vodka in mine, please.
It says smooth sipping right on the label. It doesn't say anything about a Bloody Mary, to be honest. But I did say that the person should be fired and kind of felt bad about that. I called somebody an idiot, which I felt pretty bad about. But then I said that the person who was fired, hopefully they're living the best life.
You did. You gave them a positive in life, their experience.
I don't want anything bad on them.
But I agreed with you. I thought I would love to be a fly on the wall in the board meeting or wherever where they were pitching this. We've got it. What we're going to do is we're going to take some of our best whiskey and we're going to finish it in Tabasco barrels. And I mean,
been their best whiskey. That must have been some of their worst. They must have been
I think they were out for sushi and they were all drunk on sake or something when the idea came out. They're like, oh, this is great. This is going to be amazing. or something. I mean, no way this happened like in a serious like sit down meeting, but if it did, like you put it best.
It's just and it's not like they put things together and then it was okay. They had a bad idea and then
they just went with it. Like we're going all in.
They're like, hey, smell this. What do you think? And then they're like, it's repulsive. And they're like, how much? $30? And they're like, let's do it. But anyway, whatever's in this mystery glass kicks ass. Yeah, I believe it's got to be older than.
It's significantly older. You have nailed the age.
I've tasted an 80s turkey before, and I loved it. This kind of reminds me of that, maybe. Dude.
Take a sip, man. Let me know what you think.
Cheers, David. Thank you so much.
Cheers. You're welcome.
On the hatch. Whoa.
Flavor parade, huh?
Wow, there's something in there that's different.
Isn't it?
It's, oh my gosh. That, okay. A Hall's mentholyptus cough drop, the cherry. It's not a Ludens. It's the mentholyptus ones, the ones that are.
Yes, I would say that there is definitely that vibe in here. There is this kind of like, like that cooling sensation that you get.
100%. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the most of that note I've ever got. And it is.
It's hard to find notes on it, right? Like you're like sitting there thinking, what the hell is this? Whatever. Okay.
I'll lower proof. Lower proof than the other ones.
Shockingly, it is 110 proof.
That's insane.
110 proof.
The nose smells like it could be that, but then the palate is very soft.
Mm-hmm. And loaded with all types of notes. Like to me, when I first tasted this, I had a very hard time pulling out the exact notes I was trying to express. Like, you want to give, the reader or the listener an idea of what you're tasting. And like, you know what you're tasting, but you're like, how do I translate that? And this is one of those where it's like, every note you come up with is like, it's close, but it's not easy to nail. It's not like you can go caramel, vanilla, but it's not like that. It's like, how do you explain this?
It's a different animal for sure.
Different animal. And there's a reason for that. I'll give you the next clue. It's 25 years old.
It's been aged for 25 years or
aged for 25 years, non-chill filtered. And it's still available, believe it or not. I cannot believe that this has not sold out. So I selected this alongside Bourbon Pursuit, Jason from Mash and Drum, and Jay and John from Weekly Whiskey. It is a 25-year cognac.
It's really funny. I was about to say, is this an Armagnac?
It's a cognac.
Close.
Yeah, very close. It's and I'm not a brandy person, like expert. I think it's Tessier or something like that. Anyway, it's a cognac. It's we called it Midwinter Nights Yak. It's got a label, a sticker that's kind of like Midwinter Nights Dram. But I mean, this is one of my favorite pours of this year, period. It's not cheap. It's $189.
Sure.
But it's still available. It's on seal box. And if this doesn't taste special, what does? I mean,
right.
Tell me this doesn't taste amazing.
It's funny because the dark fruit notes you get on some of those dusty turkeys, the raisin, the prune, you tricked me because those notes also show up on a cognac or an Armagnac.
Yep.
So transitioning from the older turkeys or even the single barrel that tasted old into this, it wasn't a very big leap thinking that
no,
it was still a turkey product.
Matter of fact, when we kind of were approached with the opportunity to do a cognac cask, my goal was to try to find something that had dusty notes. I've had Armagnacs that taste more bourbonish than this, and this has a little bit more grape to it.
Sure. Yep.
But there were some funk notes, I guess you would say, in here that I just could not walk away from. I was like, this one is hands down the winner. We all unanimously picked this one as our winner. And you know, $189 is a lot of money, but 25 years in oak, 110 proof, which is essentially cask strength. I mean, the way they do this is they dilute it as it ages. They add water, as it ages. It's not, there's no water added when they dump it. Okay. But like over the years, they add a little bit of water. At least that's the way I understand it. I'm not a cognac or brandy expert. But it's 110 proof, non-chill filtered. And, just to get any spirit aged that long with that type of provenance, it's not something easily found.
Sure. Andrew Kelly says the bottle doesn't have an age statement on it. Is it actually 25 years old?
Okay, so there's a certification process, from what I understand, that cognac has to go through, and this did not go through that. It's a lot 95, which basically implies. Okay, if I can get the close enough here, it's right here, lot 95, right there. There you go. So that implies that it was 1995, from what I understand. It sure does taste it. Does it taste like 5-year cognac? No.
I can't shake that one note that I was getting. It's so unique. That's so good. Mm-hmm. You have provided me with probably one of the best flights I've ever had tonight.
Well, thank you.
To thank you. What do you thank me? Shut up.
Well, you that was a compliment. So thank you.
And this is insane. So the highest score I ever have given anything so far. That just started this a couple weeks ago, but I think I have to look. But it was an Old Kirk that I drank blind. Mm-hmm. So that's like a Willet distillate. I think I scored that in 8.6, and I absolutely loved it. Mm-hmm. It was so good. Tonight, gave the mystery pour. This was before I knew it was the mystery pour. I just jotted it down, or before I knew it was not even a bourbon.
Yeah.
At 8.3, the which is phenomenal, which is like really, really good.
It's up. It's fantastic.
The single barrel, after tasting it, I jotted an 8.8, which is the highest score I've given anything.
Wow.
The donut was a 9.1, first thing in the nines, and the tradition was a 9.3. The tradition was absolutely insane. And that's what the 9. There's never a 10, because if you score a 10, you can't score anything higher.
I think that, to me, when it comes to scoring, I use full scale. Okay, so I have a 5 to 5 scale, like 1 to 5 scale.
Sure.
I think that when you hit a 5, or a perfect, in your case a 10, there has to be some type of sentimental attachment to it,
right?
Because you're basically saying that it's not going to get any better than this,
right?
So I have a few whiskeys that, to me, reach that perfect mark, because it's like, I'm never going to not be satisfied with this. If you put this in my glass and hand it to me, I am going to be thrilled to drink it. And to me, that warrants a perfect score. If you're going to be like, oh, this is awesome, I love this, well, that might be more of a notch down or two. Okay. But when someone gives it and you're like excited about it and you're like, holy shit, I love this, I love everything about this whiskey, that's a perfect. And a lot of times those are associated with sentimental kind of pours. So I don't think there's anything wrong with giving a perfect score. Just make sure that you commit to loving it with everything that you have,
Well, absolutely. I get that too. The other thing that's hard about tasting and scoring stuff, so in a setting, the perfect setting, like mood plays a favor, like the ambiance, everything plays a favor in like the tasting session. For me, sitting in front of a computer with a camera, chat going, lights in my face for me to score something that high. You know that it's good, because if it were the perfect setting, I can't imagine. Like if me and you were sitting down together, having a genuine conversation, just the two of us, and you poured that out of the bottle into a glass. I mean, then we're looking at a 10, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's how it works. Like when you do barrel picks, like when Eddie pulls the thief out of the barrel and fills up your glass, it could be the most mediocre wild turkey barrel in the world, but you're going to be like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, cause you're in that moment, and it's like, nothing's ever going to change that. There's nothing better than that. And you've done some barrel picks yourself. So anytime you go to a distillery and taste there at the distillery from the barrel or with the master distiller or whatever, there's like this extra special like quality that comes out. And it's okay to give high scores like that because it's associated to something very special to you. And that's all scores are anyway. I mean, they're just, your own subjective, ranking of how you think this places in your mind. Same with movies or albums or whatever, it's like, is there really the perfect rock album? I don't know. It depends on what your style is, what you prefer. Same thing with whiskey. I mean, it's all subjective, but when you have that little connection personally, that's what makes it a perfect whiskey.
Can I ask you which one of these is do you have a favorite of these? Like how would you rank these pours tonight?
Well, okay. It's really interesting because, as good as tradition tastes, I'm not really like that emotionally connected to it because at the time I purchased it, it wasn't really that expensive, and it just kind of like I kind of went through it real quick, and like that was that. And against some other ones, like some other dusty turkeys, like 12 years from the 90s and 80s and stuff, it's not as good. It's still great. Don't get me wrong. The donut is special to me because it's the only donut I've ever owned. I've had plenty of donut samples, but this is the only one I've ever owned. And so this is mine, and like I have this connection to it. But that Kentucky Spirit, that was a lesson for me. That was like, when I should have listened to the people that had reached out to me at first and said, hey, I've got a special barrel. You don't know how many times I hear that. Every group that picks a barrel says that theirs is the best turkey ever picked. Theirs tastes like dusty turkey. Yada. And I've done that so many times that I've been disappointed. But this one was right. And I should have listened because it wasn't their pick. It was like some not podunk, but it was like some, rural, place. I don't even know, much about it. It was just this liquor store, unassuming. They were sitting in the sun. That was what kind of threw me off when the first person sent me the picture of it. It was like this rack of Kentucky Spirits sitting in the sunlight. And I'm like, ooh, that is not good. Do not put whiskey in the sun like that. And I was like, I'll pass. And they're like, dude, it's so good. But
maybe we should be putting it in the sun.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've had, there was a store I went to one time. It's called Bill's, and it was in Augusta, Georgia. And the guy had tons of like old turkey. He had, old granddad, all kinds of stuff. I should have loaded up, but I didn't. But I did buy a good many 101s, early 2000s 101s, and a couple of them were sun faded. And it was night and day. Like they were just, it was like stale beer. It was awful. Like the second I nosed it, I was like, oh my God, this is disgusting. And I tasted it. And that's when I realized that, sitting a whiskey in the sun does very, very bad. It denatures it, and it's a very bad thing. It's when it comes down to a real connection and a learning experience, I would say that Kentucky Spirit taught me a lot about, you can have a modern single barrel that has qualities that are completely unique, throwback, whatever you want to call it. So the donut and that Kentucky Spirit are pretty close to me. The tradition, I'm going to miss it when it's gone. But in a blind, it might place number one. But to me, I just don't have that connection with it like I guess I should.
It makes sense. There's a bottle of Kentucky Owl bourbon that Dixon Dedman gifted to me like over a year ago. I did some silly like infinity bottle project with YouTube, and I mean, it just holds like a sentimental value. And I think for the longest time, I loved it so much I didn't want to blind it against anything else.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want to soil it. Yeah,
right. But I mean, it's a great pour. So I've blinded it several times. It hasn't lost, but I'm selective. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm not gonna, do that. Just gonna enjoy it for what it is.
I'll tell you, Dixon is a great guy.
For sure.
I interviewed him for my blog one time. He sent me a long write-up about a story about him and Jamie Ferris selecting a barrel at Turkey, and it's on my blog. If you just do a search for Dixon Dedman.
Yeah, was that one of their birthday bottles that they do?
No, this was a Russell's pick. They did a couple Russell's picks together. And he sent me one of the bottles from the Old Owl Tavern, and Jamie sent me his barrel that Dixon helped pick with him. And they were both just killer. They were from Rickhouse G, both of them. And I almost sent you that as one of the samples for tonight's flight, but maybe we can save that if we ever do this again. I'll send you a sample 100%. Of Dixon's, and it's a fantastic pick. And the guy really does know what he's doing. I know that, a lot of people kind of, they're not big on NDPs, and I'm one of those people that I prefer transparency myself. Sure. Okay. But after meeting Dixon, online and talking with him, not in person, but after talking with him and getting to know him, he's a really great guy. Same thing with the Carters. I had the opportunity to meet Mark and Sherry in Lexington, they're just the best people, very kind-hearted, and they really care about what they do. They care about the bourbon that they select for their batches. And I understand they are fun, aren't they?
They're
right?
So much
They're fun. It's I am. It's weird, it's strange. He's leaving this brand, or he's left this brand, behind, that he, built, and sold everything. But I'm kind of happy for him because, it opens him up to do other things, and maybe he'll do something cool down the road. We'll see. But he's a very cool dude.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Freaking love that guy. I met him Whiskey Weekend Batch 4, and I totally didn't even know what to say. I was just like,
But he's so down to earth. He's a cool dude.
I know, but I froze pretty hard. Froze solid. Next time.
We have a really cool hobby, and I hope that it stays that way. There's a lot of crap that goes on with the secondary and a lot of what I call the bourbon bro world. But for the most, it's a very cool hobby. And I want to mention to you that I did apply for the world's top whiskey taster. Nice. More out of a I just had to do it. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it because there's two things that I thought would be cool is doing your own blend. I'm like, okay, that's gotta, that would be awesome. But the other thing is just going through the challenge of it, not necessarily winning, just the whole challenge of it, to challenge myself, So, will I even make it to semis, whatever? Probably not, but it would be a fun experience to try.
I think that the majority of like motivational speakers would say that that's the wrong attitude.
Really?
But being the only world's top whiskey taster in existence, that was the right attitude, because I didn't think I was like, I just made a stupid ass video. And I showed my wife and she was like, why would you that's what you sent. And I'm like, that's what I sent. So at the finals in Bardstown, people would who work there and like the reps from different states and stuff, they come up to me and they'd be like, I just loved your video. Like that was like the thing that initially got them hooked, that made them even, consider.
I believe it.
It's just weird that, I don't know.
But that's where you shine, is like, there are so many people that have, similar formats. nothing against that, but there's kind of a formula to whiskey YouTube, okay?
Mhm.
And yours is not really part of that formula 100%. You kind of got your own little quirkiness that you throw in there that other people don't really have. And I don't think they could have, because it's all you. It's like that's who you are, you know? And it's very refreshing, I'll say, you know, because there's like I said, it breaks the mold a little bit. You break the mold, and I think that's
Wow.
what makes your channel so special. And I think people, especially with that Dickel review, I shared that on Twitter, and like people were just replying left and right, like, God, this is hilarious. I love this. And like, you know, that's we need more of that. We need more laughter, because I see too many crotch shots and, you know, stupid one-ups, you know, and like the dude that like posts a picture of like the Glencairn that's full, but the bottle is sealed miraculously, and you're like, what the hell, dude? You know, and he's got like the Rolex with the cigar just kind of just perfectly placed beside it, and I'm like, this is a bunch of shit. Come on, you know.
It's just there are some things that get views and clicks and likes, and I don't know. Like I do the same thing. I see like what gets attention, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna throw another top 5 video out this week, because that's like it builds traffic. People come to see it. People subscribe. Like there's more viewership. So I've already said this, so I'm gonna put it out there. And if anybody copies it, then guess what? It was my idea first. Putting one of these months, I'm putting out a top 5 video every day. Until I run, like at the end of it, it's gonna be like top five videos
to break a toe. Top 5 bottles that will break your toe.
Yeah, exactly. Just like ridiculous.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Because I just want to see like what the effect, because stuff like that, it does gain traffic, but I do it my own little way. It's a little bit silly, a little bit goofy, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's hard not to do it when you see like the success that it has with other people. So
yeah, well, I mean, people like they like different. They want something that's refreshing. I mean, I can find it's one reason why I've been hesitant to kind of do things on YouTube, is because there's just so much out there. It's like everybody's reviewed, you know, I don't know, Weller Reserve or whatever, Special Reserve. There's like a 100 of them out there. Who cares? Like, who cares about my review of Wild Turkey 101? There's like 50 of them out there already, I'm sure. But you know, to have something where it's genuine, and it's just your personality, whether there's humor there or not, I think is a cool thing. It's a refreshing thing, and I'm glad you're doing it.
Well, thank you. I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
Before we wrap up.
Sure.
Actually, first of all, Jeffrey Wax said, what's a 10 for you? Like, what's your favorite bottle? What's your 10?
Oh gosh. Well, okay, so there's several. To me, the very first Dusty Turkey I ever had was a 1981 101 8-year, and that to me is perfect bourbon. It was what led me down the path to where I'm at now, and I'm very appreciative to the person that shared that with me. His name was Chris, and had he not done that, you know, there would have never been, you know, this book or any of this stuff. So that's a perfect. Revival was a perfect for me. I felt like you know, Eddie really put his heart into that one, and I could when I first poured that whiskey, I was tongue-tied, like, how do I explain what I'm smelling, tasting? You know, it was the best and is the best sherry finished bourbon I've ever had. Period. It's just, you know, taking that 12 to 15 year bourbon and introducing it to those special, and they were hand-picked by Eddie. He flew to Spain and picked out the exact cask that he wanted to finish, you know, his whiskey in. Revival to me is just a perfect. There's others on that list. Russell's 98. I mean, there's, yeah, you can go to my website and just kind of like, I used to have a top 10. It's still hidden somewhere. I just don't promote it like I used to, because, you know, it's just everything changes. You know, it's like, you know, there's so many I wrote a blog post about it, and I wrote a post called Top 10 Sentimental Wild Turkeys. And I realized that a lot of times when people, like we had talked about, when you give perfect ratings, there's a lot more emotion to it than just pure objectiveness.
Right.
It's a notch above subjectiveness. It's like emotional subjectiveness. So anyway, I don't mean to dance around the question, but it's going to be the ones I feel like have the most emotional connection with is going to be my perfect whiskeys.
Sure, makes sense. Ed Bell said, is he the one who sent you the Dickel video?
Ed Bell did. Ed Bell's awesome. Yeah, that's one of my patrons. Hey Ed, what's up, man? Thank you for watching so late. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's super late. I'm gonna let you go here in a minute.
Oh, that's okay.
I picked up this Turkey 81 just the other day.
Okay.
Is this just? I think it's from 2015 or something like that.
Yeah, that's a VAP bottle. So that's a Veterans Artist Program.
So same stuff as normal, just in
it's just an 81 label. Turkey, but it's 81 proof turkey. But they had veterans design. There was another one that has like the kind of the digital camo,
sure.
And there's a special Veterans Artist Program that the sale of that bottle benefits.
Yeah, I just thought it was a cool.
It is. Bottle. It's very cool. I use that one a lot on. Holidays that commemorate veterans, whether it's, Armed Services Day or Memorial Day or Veterans Day, July 4th, these types of things. I like to use that bottle.
Yeah, it's neat. And it was something I hadn't seen before. Cool. One of the stores here in Colorado, I forget what it's, I almost said Connecticut. Colorado had like 5 of them on the shelf. And I was like,
there's a local store that has tons of them still. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's weird. Next question, and probably the most serious. How many times are we going to redesign the Turkey 101 bottle? If you're not paying attention, then you're probably not noticing it. But this son of a bitch, it's like they're trying to land on something, and they just keep changing it and changing it.
I like it. I like the new bottle myself.
Oh, me too.
It looks good full. Now, you're going to start inching it down. It's going to kind of lose that luster because it shows off so much of the whiskey. But there are some tequila bottles that look very, very, very similar to that. And I think, is it Templeton Rye that's doing something similar to that too now?
Not sure.
Anyway,
I don't pay attention to Templeton Rye.
I think it looks good. I think the embossed turkey looks great. Turkey 101 tastes a lot better than it should for the price.
Oh, and it tastes above its price point for sure.
Right. So I think they're like, now that people have realized that, and people like you and I and all over YouTube have been screaming it forever. On top of other social media networks, I think Campari's finally realized that maybe if we class up the bottle a little bit, that will attract a little bit, nicer crowd. I don't know. Or maybe they're following in the footsteps of Long Branch. The whole thing with the Long Branch bottle was to show off the whiskey. And so it has that slim label and like the majority of the bottle is embossed and just, you can see right through it.
Yeah.
So I guess they're following that kind of lead there.
1318 Shelby wants to know, ask him about Wild Turkey rye products, like rare breed rye. Yeah, are you a fan of the Turkey ryes? How do you feel about that?
I love Turkey rye. I've always loved Wild Turkey's rye. You have like the 81 proof, which really is just a cocktail whiskey. But 101 and up, I love neat. The best one is the single barrel rye, Russell's Reserve single barrel rye. If you can find that, it's not everywhere, but if you can find that, it's not cheap, but it's totally worth it. It's a handy killer, in my opinion. Like I've had the Russell's Reserve single barrel rye. It's a dark green label.
Okay, yeah.
104 proof. It can compete with, like I said, Thomas Handy. People are like, oh, no way. Seriously, put it in a blind with it. I think you'll be surprised at how it stands up. I'm not a big fan of the 6-year rye. It's fine. It's an easy sipper. There's nothing offensive about it. It just doesn't really check any boxes for me.
Sure.
101 has a little bit more vibrancy, and Rare Breed Rye is just, I mean, it's killer. I mean, for the money, it's worth it. If you like a high proof rye, I don't think you're going to be let down by it. It's a very cool batch. I think most people tend to prefer the Rare Breed Rye over all the other Russells and Wild Turkey Ryes. But 101, Rare Breed Rye, Russell Single Barrel Rye, those three, you can't go wrong with, in my opinion.
Boom, nailed it. That's what he thinks. I'm sitting here and all I can smell is peated whiskey because I poured the Scorch.
Oh.
So we're going to end on this.
Your palate's done for the night, my friend.
After this, it will be. David, thank you so much for coming on here.
Thanks for having me.
This was so enjoyable. You're a man of so much knowledge, and you talk, and your passion is it's contagious, and I friggin' love it. Can we do this again?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you a Dixon sample and some other stuff, and we'll have a good time.
Well, you have to play a couple games. I want to send you a flight that's called "Is This Turkey or Not?"
Oh, okay. I'm up for it.
Then we can just see how. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever done something like that?
No, and if I fail it, I'll just say I had a cold or something. I'm like, yeah, man, I was just getting over a sinus infection, and
Right, I don't know. It'd be fun. We'll find something fun to do. I so much appreciate you being on tonight.
Oh,
while I torture myself for a second of this Ardbeg Scorch, let everybody know where to find you, how to buy your book, when to look for the new book, and how to support Rare Bird 101.
Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, support Matt here at ADHD Whiskey, like I do. I'm a patron of Matt, so
thank you.
Definitely make sure you do that. At the very least, subscribe to his channel, because if you don't, you're going to miss out on all the funny shit, and you're going to find out secondhand when everybody else has laughed about it. Like me, I should have called on a lot earlier than I did. But if you're interested in Wild Turkey reviews, you can go to rarebird101.com. If you'd like to read American Spirit, you can go to wildturkeybook.com. If you like what I do, you can go to patreon.com/rarebird101. There's various tiers that you can select to support me. I do have all kinds of different rewards that I offer, including access to my Discord server, which is really cool. Shout out to John for setting that up. And I do barrel selections every year. And those are available to all tiers, except for it starts, with the top down. So, some bottles sell out faster than others. But I do Turkey, I do New Riff, Wilderness Trail. I've got a Starlight pick coming up. So a lot of cool things that I've done and in the works. And I'm on Instagram at RareBird101 and Twitter at RBird101. And that's about it, Matt.
WildTurkeyBook.com.
WildTurkeyBook.com. Yes, sir.
That is not great. I mean, I get it. I don't get it. Why would I even say it? Some people just like to torture themselves, and you torture yourself so much into enjoying it. It's a commitment. I tried so hard to maybe I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to get used to it a little bit, but still.
and I don't know how much of a reader you are, but I sent you a copy of the book. Obviously, you've shown it. I need you to read a little bit. Are you dying now?
It's not good.
It's an acquired taste to love an Ardbeg. I will tell you that. But I will tell you, it's funny. But when I was writing American Spirit, there were a few nights where I was drinking Ardbeg 10 as I was writing American Spirit. So I like Ardbeg.
Yeah, you're trying to keep yourself awake. Just like it's like I don't know. That's you. Jeez Louise.
Here's my logic. Okay, I can take like an ounce of peated scotch and it can last for like 2 hours easily. Because you take one sip and you will taste it for 2 hours. No, I'm just kidding.
For 2 years.
It's 80 proof and, or thereabouts. And you can just nose it forever and you can taste it and you will taste it for a long period of time. And you can keep your wits about you writing. But like if you pour Wild Turkey for me while I'm writing, I'll be like, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, what the hell did I write? Like delete. So
yeah, because if you give yourself something good, you're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a different experience.
I mean, at that point, it's like just have your wife come downstairs and kick you in the nuts every couple hours to keep you writing. Because basically, it's the same. It's an acquired feeling. That feeling.
It is funny that I did consume a good bit of scotch when writing American Spirit. I don't know why that is. I did consume a good bit of 81 proof Wild Turkey as well. And people are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, when you're trying to keep your wits about you, but you're kind of wanting to enjoy some whiskey, it's not like you can go sipping on like, rare breed and like expect to get some quality work done. So, I would drink Long Branch and the 13-year of Japanese export and things like this, so lower proof so I could like, have a little bit of whiskey because, loosening up when you write is kind of a cool thing, but you loosen up too much and you're just done. So
yeah, you can only get so loose before
That's right. That's right.
For sure. Oh man, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for this flight. Probably one of the best flights I've ever had. Amazing stuff. Loved everything. Geez Louise, even starting off with the new riff stuff, incredible.
Yeah, I just went back and sipped candy, and I'm like, okay, that holds up. It's not like it's like letting me down or anything. I'm like, yeah, that's good. Good whiskey.
Oh, the candy new riff after the Ardbeg scorch, whatever.
It's a lifesaver.
Tastes like angel wings mixed with pixie sticks. So good. All right, David. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, man.
We're gonna do this again. Friggin' love you. Love everything you do. You're just just like a pillar of information and lovableness, man. And we all dig it.
Keep doing you, man.
Over 300 people in chat tonight, and
wow.
Everybody was just. I was just reading chat throughout, and everyone was just friggin' loving you. So you're welcome on the channel anytime, and I'm sure we'll talk more after this. So
absolutely,
guys, gals, thank you so much. We'll be back next Friday, where I'm not sure what I'm doing, but it's just going to be the way it is. There's no more Matt Madness, so it's like, what am I going to do every week? But this was like the best transition because I had an amazing guest and I had an amazing time. My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds, but your mind on drinking all the Wild Turkey and then leaving Ardbeg scorch on your porch for the raccoons.
Cheers, y'all.
And the mice and the rats. DC, thank you.